Welcome everybody. Y'all ready for this? The Hustle. My name is Steve Aramopoulos, and these are my co-hosts.
I'm Talia.
And I'm Tech Luciano. You may have heard me on radio, you may have never heard of me at all, but that's okay.
Cause y'all gon' learn today. Your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle. This is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break a fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow. Now, welcome to the hustle.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Hustle Podcast. Hustle Podcast over here. We got my man Tech in the building. We got Talia in the building. And we got a special guest in the building today, PeeZee's, a phenomenal director. What's good? What's good?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
So I just wanted to say that PeeZee's is a phenomenal director. I've been watching this guy for a long time. I can't remember how I added him on Facebook, but it was years ago. And I've seen, when I was just getting into the game, this guy was already like at a peak, you know what I mean? And he's just always been growing and growing and growing. And we're going to talk a lot about the stuff that you've been doing, all that great stuff in LA, all the great stuff over here, and all the other stuff that you've been doing recently regarding the Freedom Convoy and our rights as Canadian citizens.
Our rights as Canadians, man.
Excellent.
Oh, man. I'm ready for this this topic.
She's
Let's
been waiting
go.
for this. She's been
Oh,
waiting
that's
for
cool.
this.
I've been waiting for it. I took off of work to go to the convoy.
I went yesterday.
Yeah? How was
Yeah,
it?
It was crazy. The energy was crazy. It reminded me of like a championship parade, you know, like if we had won the Super Bowl, but it was meaningful because it was for freedom, you know, and it was just like, I felt like it was a newfound pride in Canadian culture. You know, everybody was together, all kinds of different cultural backgrounds, all kinds of people from different ages and different parts of the country too. And there was a lot of people from Montreal that was over there, a lot of French-speaking people, and it was just so cool to see like all these Canadian flags. And I never thought I'd be flying a Canadian flag like that and be so proud, you know. And I was like, man, it's all smiles and families and chants and people dancing. There was kind of like a club where they had like super big speakers. The DJ was on top of the speakers.
Oh, that's lit.
And it was like, and it was powered by like 20 generators behind. It was just like, and it felt like kind of like Mad Max, but super cool. So it was just good vibes, and ain't nobody can go there and just hate on it. People hating on it, they haven't been there.
So you haven't seen any white supremacists?
I haven't seen any. Come on, man. I had like, I went with 6 people, and I was the only white guy, and I had another group of friends that were there. They were like 9 or 10 black dudes, you know. It was just like, and you had speakers too. People were speaking. You had people from the First Nations. You had like immigrants from Congo that was talking about how she came to Canada for freedom, and now we're losing it. And it was like Latinos speaking. It was all kinds of people speaking up, man, on the mic, and it was just beautiful to see, just good vibes all around.
So let me ask you a question, because obviously there's been a super concerted effort by mainstream media to kind of not silence it, but to diminish the convoy. How many people were actually out there? Because they're trying to make it look like, oh, there's a couple thousand people out over there.
No, it's like, it's, I mean, there's people all over town. It's just not just concentrated in one spot. It's like it's everywhere. And on the way to Ottawa, it's just like people with flags. And even yesterday, you know, the official convoy was last week, but even yesterday, as the closer you get to Ottawa, as soon as you pass, let's say, Cornwall, all you see is Canadian flags everywhere. Crazy. Cars with Canadian flags, people driving on their hazard lights, and it's just like, that's the convoy. And it's just people everywhere, man. So I don't know how to estimate it, but it's so powerful, the energy out there, that it feels like 1 million people. But it's not 1 million people, you know. It's not 50,000 trucks. It's just like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 trucks. But 1,000 trucks downtown Ottawa, that's big. That's huge. It's not a big downtown. This is not Montreal or New York, or it's just like, it's small. So, but it's just, the vibe is just phenomenal, man.
I was like, he's talking about it. I'm getting shivers and goosebumps, because when I went last Saturday, we accidentally became part of the convoy.
Yeah, me
it
too,
wasn't done on
yesterday.
purpose.
Me
Like
too,
we just
yesterday.
got off at an exit with a bunch of cars getting off. So we're like, hey, let's follow them. I guess they're going to Parliament. We ended up at like a trucker stop before they got onto the highway.
That's exactly
And
what I
just
did, yeah.
seeing the people on the side of the roads, and it was fucking cold. Like it was freezing.
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
they
it was
too.
cold.
I had
yeah.
my arm out the
last
window,
weekend,
and I was
yeah.
like, okay, he
it was cold
like
for real.
it genuinely gave me inspiration. It inspired me. It made me feel like after everything we've been through, like in these last 2 years, like you probably don't know my Instagram, but I've spoken out about this a lot. For
Yeah, I checked it out. Yeah, I seen it. Yeah.
For the last 2 years, I've been speaking out about it. And like, you know,
Non-stop.
you get those messages of people saying like, yeah, you're really inspiring me. You're giving me hope. I'm glad you're speaking out. But like, you feel like it's not enough. You feel like you're still like that minority speaking out. And to see all these people is honestly, it was just so mind-blowing, and it filled my heart with so much love and joy that I've been on like this high ever since. And just watching all this stuff unfold on the internet, and then seeing what like the mainstream media is saying and what Trudeau's saying,
crazy.
you're just like, yo, like, are you people like
They're just
dumb?
losing
Are you
it.
dumb?
They're
Like,
losing their grip on reality. They're losing the narrative right now, and they don't even realize it because they're the elites and they don't see it. They never know when to stop.
Yeah.
So Trudeau made this post where he had like, he put all the names that you can put in there, you know, all of them, all at once. So if there ever was something that would happen that would be dangerous, like what other names could he use? He used them all in that one post, you know? It's just stupid. So that's them seeing the world through their childish worldview, basically. That's
this
how.
guy's an idiot, though. Like,
Yeah,
he's
they're just
literally like posting on Twitter saying like, "Oh, I got COVID. I have all 3 doses, but you should still get vaccinated." Like your whole narrative is so upside down and
out
twisted.
of touch with reality.
Yeah,
it's a cult. That's what it is. And in the cult, those words have meaning to them, but it's just like the reason why there's a concerted effort, like you said, is because they hate to see people living normally, and that's what it was in Ottawa yesterday. The feels that I had over there was like, to me, it was what hip hop used to be. It was kind of like, you know, it was rebels and renegades that were all doing this in the name of love, and you still had haters, you know, diminishing the movement. And I ran into that dude from TVA, what's his name? Michel Jean.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, here comes the fake news. And he was like, me, fake news? I was like, yeah, man. And then everybody got in and we're like, bro, he was like, how am I fake news? I was like, because you say this, that. And I told him everything. And he was genuinely surprised. He was like, how? I was like, everything you say. You're here punching down on the people that are here, truckers and families, but you won't punch up on the government. You will never ask him any questions, and you feel like you're doing a great job as an investigative journalist. That's not what it's supposed to be at all. You're supposed to punch up, not punch down. That's what the media is there for, but you've became a propaganda arm of the party in charge, the uniparty.
They've been subsidized by the government.
They are subsidized by the government, you know, and all structures of power in Canada and culture too is all subsidized by the government. So it makes no sense. Like, we can't get real news, real reporting. So that's why people go towards like alternative media and independent journalists and then get their news from them because that's the only source.
Did you see Viva Frey going around talking to counter
protesters? Yeah, I saw Viva Frey on Thursday night. I was driving down in Montreal, I won't say where, but then I see like a guy crossing the street, and I had watched him all day in Ottawa, and I see a guy crossing the street, and he got a dog, and I'm like, he had his jacket open. I was like, oh, that's a homeless dude, because he crossed on a red light, and I was like, wait a minute, that's Viva. So I stopped and said, Viva on the streets. And he was like, hey. But he had been in Ottawa the whole day, so he drove back, and then at like 6 p.m., he was doing a Viva on the streets. You know, he'd been working. You know, and that's cool to see people like that doing it despite all the name calling. You know, we don't care anymore about the name calling. The name calling worked at the beginning, but the past, I would say 3-4 months, people got tired of the name calling. We know it's never going to go back to normal if we keep listening to what they say, because the name calling is their magical word that they use. Yeah, it's division, but it's for 2 years, 4 years, the last 5 years, I would say they just throw these names out, and then people say, oh, okay, I'm scared. I don't want to be called that, so I'll listen. Right, exactly. I'm sorry, I'm listening. I'll listen. I won't say any. Now it doesn't work anymore because people understand it. You know, I'm not that. You're not that. You know, most people aren't that. So it's like, stop with the name calling. It's enough now. And to see the hip hop community not stepping up as rappers should do,
oh my God,
like, it shows you a lot.
This
and it's like,
irks me so much.
I'm like, guys, you're out of it. Like, the culture is passing right in front of you, and you're not hopping on a train, and you're left behind being the most conformist art form out there. And I'm like, guys, like, really? Like, you don't see it? You don't see what's happening right now? And I'm like, so I'm calling them all out. Like
I called them out too. Like, you guys are literally watching a whole revolution pass by in front of you, and like you're just posting about your day. Like,
yeah, and the only
don't
reason
care.
why they're not talking about it is because it's not sponsored by Nike and Coke and all the big corporations and the government. If it was, then they would talk about it because it's cool and all of that, but it's not. So it's just crazy. Anyways, it's just a love movement, and I love it.
even the independent artists from this city too, you know, like some of us have more of a following than others, and from what I've been told is that they're too afraid to talk out about it because they're too afraid to lose their followers and lose their fan base. But it's like,
Well,
none of them are millionaires with this shit here in the city.
You're not Madonna, bro. Like,
exactly.
Speak out. Like,
Exactly.
use
But
your
a few-
platform for good.
A few of these guys did get the government money to do commercials, no?
A lot of them got government money to do commercials, and we're talking about like money they would never
Cheers
get
to get
anywhere else.
No, I got what?
They could never get that type of money anywhere else. We're talking about like one single payment of like $40,000 just to do a 35-second freestyle.
Yeah.
Now how they going to come out and say, well, I got duped, you know, they played me, I didn't know. Like, they won't do that because they want to still go on Julie Snyder's show and, you know, be a judge or whatever it is, you know. So it's just, I don't know what happened to them, man. All of them is just like, y'all not really from the streets. Y'all been playing the whole time, you know, or the streets have become the regime. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, ain't it.
Hip hop's been corporatized for the last, you know, they've had their tentacles in it for a long time, and I think now is we're really starting to see to what extent how bad it's actually gotten, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in LA, man, big rappers, man. A lot of them are scared to talk. You know, some of them aren't, but they're not getting any exposure. But a lot of them are really scared to talk. And I'm talking about, you know, real gangsters. And I'm not talking about my bro Glasses Malone, because he be speaking up. But I'm talking about other ones, and I'm like, I'm so disappointed in them. I'm like, bro, like there's rappers out here in Montreal that I know they spent their adult life in and out of jail the whole time. And when you meet them, the only thing they talk about is their doses. Oh, I got the second dose. Oh, now I'm going for the third dose and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, like, you've been breaking the rules your whole life, and now you want to listen to the, like, I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like this can't be real. I'm like, y'all turned into uncles, bro. Like, I'm like, what the hell, man?
I think, but like my whole thing with it the whole time has kind of been like freedom of choice. If you want, if you want to get vaxxed, fucking get vaxxed.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get vaxxed,
Exactly.
don't get vaxxed. But like, I don't understand why it's got to be this divisive thing that has become to where it's like, you know, it's literally they're trying to make it like a Crips versus Bloods type of situation with vax
Oh, it's
versus
way
world
worse
order.
than that.
You
It's
know what I
way
mean?
worse than that. Like, Crips and Bloods in LA get along. Like, really, they do. I seen more Crip on Crip murders than Crips on Blood murders while I was there. You know, it's like, it's really gangs. It's not like what people think, but what they're doing here is completely, totally tribal. It's tribal.
That's a
to
perfect
the
word for it.
core.
That's a perfect word for
And
it.
they, you know, you go downtown Montreal and you know who's on what tribe because you see all the students at McGill and all those colleges at like Concordia. They all walk around with their mask up, you know, and it's really just virtue signaling. It's really just to say, hey, I'm from, this is my gang sign. Look, I'm with you. I'm a good person. I'm good. That's what they do. But it makes no sense. You know, it really doesn't make any sense. And it's just virtue signaling, and it's super dangerous because now it's tribal. It's no longer related to science at all. It's never been. Never.
But it always goes back to that one term: follow the science. Follow the science.
You don't have to follow the science. The science is separate. You follow religion. Religion asks you to follow it blindly without seeing anything or any proof. That's the difference between religion and science. Science is supposed to be provable. You know, that's a scientific method. You're supposed to say, hey, this is my result. This is how I came to it. And other scientists are supposed to be able to duplicate it, replicate it. If they can't, if you got to say, this is my result, and you got to just trust me, bro, this is religion. This is not science. So science, you can question it. Religion, it's like, it's arbitrary, kind of. So, yeah, man.
That's a good way to put it.
Fucking
actually.
cheers to that, man.
Well, look, we're going off on this. And definitely got to come.
Yeah,
touch
go
back
ahead.
On it. But I want to get back to the music side of
Yes,
things.
sir.
The videos and everything.
Yep.
Let's talk about the beginning. Was it the music first? Was it making videos first? Like,
The first thing was wanting to make beats, wanting to be a producer, but with the means that we had back in like 1995 here, which means no samplers, really, no nothing, just like making beats in DOS mode, you know, with mod edit. Like this was like, it was impossible, or with like cheap Casio keyboards. So, you know, that led me to, I wanted to make beats, but I had no one to rap on them. So I started doing it myself. But it was that, and put out my first album in 1999, and I really didn't like the videos that they were doing for me, like the label that I was with. It wasn't like, it's just that they didn't have the vision, because they weren't rap like that, hip hop like that. So I said, man, let me try it, you know, out of necessity. And I tried it, and it caught fire right away. Like the first video demo that I did for myself, I had other rappers that I had started producing for in the city that were starting to make noise in the underground, was like, yo, how much would you charge for this, you know, for a video like this? And I had my first clients, and it never stopped since. You know, it really caught on, and that's how it went. So it was the beat producing first, rapping after, then the music videos, then it never stopped.
Okay, that's so dope. So that was all local, right? You were doing that local?
At first, it was all local. Yeah, it was.
When did we jump into LA and start working?
LA, that was 2009. By 2009, between I would say 2003 and 2009, I had over 100 music videos on Music Plus that I had shot for artists, many number ones or top fives, you know, on the daily countdown. And I was shooting a lot of videos that were playing also that were being aired on Much Music. So we felt like now we needed to go somewhere else, you know, to export it and have bigger means and have different sceneries and all of that. So I had a friend that was living in LA. He was from LA. He had moved here when he had went to high school, because his parents didn't want him to fuck with the gangs, basically. So he did his whole high school here, and I met him while he was in high school, and he was rapping. So I produced stuff for him, and then he was like, man, I'm going back to LA, you know, and I'm going to pursue this rap career. He went out there, and he really thought it was tough, but he was like, yo, for me it's tough, but for you, if you come out here with the videos and the music, it's going to be a rap. Like, you know, I'll introduce you to people, and we'll try to get it going. So I went over there in 2009 the first time. And by 2011, I was hooking up with the people at Interscope, you know, and by 2012, I was shooting big videos for the artists, and I was starting to be a part of the community out there. And that lasted till 2017. And then in 2017, I started coming back here more and more, spending like only maybe 4 or 5 months in LA, 2017, 2018, then 2019, same thing. But 2020, I was scheduled to go back. Like, I was going back to LA on March 24th of 2020, but on the 13th or 16th, everything closed down. So there was no purpose. LA closed down, locked down before Montreal. So there was no purpose for me to go there and just like spend thousands and thousands a month, not be in rent, not being able to just shoot anything. So I kind of have been on standby ever since. But in the meanwhile, you know,
I see you working. You're definitely working.
Yeah, I've been doing like, I started making videos in 2020 for gospel artists out of Africa. There's a huge community here, and that just caught fire. It started playing on Trace TV everywhere around the world, and now I just got this whole community on lock here, and we're just shooting video after video. And it's cool because all their videos get played on TV, and we're being nominated for Video of the Year out there in a bunch of countries. So it's super cool. It's another community, so it's very cool.
Some big moves, man. I've seen your work. I was really impressed when I looked at it.
Thanks.
It was just like when I saw your stuff for the first time. I was really impressed. But then I saw his stuff, so.
Yeah, I saw you did a video for Mike the Bird Boy, if I remember correctly.
Of course, yeah, I had him come. I shot 3 videos for him. We shot 2 in Montreal, 2018, 2 in Montreal. Then
you look really young in them.
Yeah, I was in LA in 2019, and I kept on telling him, you know, him and his dad, I was like, yo, you got to come to LA. That's, you know, for you spending time out here and spending resources out here, you're just going to waste your time, you know, go where the market is. So he came down to LA, and I hooked him up with some of my contacts, and we had him doing a song with TC 4800, which is one of YG's best friends, and Dolla Sign's main dude. And you know, it just caught fire. You know, he was able to hook up with a bunch of people out there, and then he went back by himself in 2020 or early 2021. I don't know, but
no,
he went
it was
back.
2020.
Yeah, he went
They
back
left for
by
like
himself.
6 months.
Yeah, he went there, and he was just like, he did his thing over there. But it's just, you know, for a young rapper to be out here, if you got the means to be out there, just go out there. It's just that I would say right now, because of the pandemic, LA is kind of dead in comparison to Miami.
That was actually my next question, because I heard like the mayor really fucked LA up over there.
Oh, the governor and the mayor, I seen it. I was out there since 2009, and I seen the degradation of California. I seen how it went from being amazing to being homeless encampments everywhere,
yeah,
but
that's
like
fucking crazy.
everywhere, like places I would shoot at. I would shoot downtown. You know, I would go there in the middle of the night to take pictures, photos, you know, for my photography books and all of that, and it was nobody. And then you couldn't go, like starting in 2018, 2019, you couldn't go back there. It was like, we're talking about thousands of tents.
It's like the real Mad Max.
Like the real Mad Max. It was just like, they took California and they destroyed it on purpose.
It's crazy.
You know, and it's just, the mayor is just like, nah, man, that ain't it. The mayor and the governor in California, they wrecked it. They just wrecked it. And in comparison to Florida, like everything, when I started going to LA in 2009, everything was in Florida and Atlanta. Like all the head offices of the labels were there because of Rick Ross, you know, Khaled, Cash Money was based, Young Money was based in Miami with Drake and all of them, Nicki Minaj. But then LA, the resurgence of the West Coast in 2011, 2012 with Kendrick, YG, and all of them, and the Mustard Sound, everybody moved back to LA. Like all the labels went back to LA. And you saw it, but now it's all going back to Miami, especially with the reggaeton wave. You know, that's
for sure.
huge.
Yeah, that shit took over the game.
Yeah, it's just all the videos are major videos. You know, something that you didn't see in rap really. So rap had to follow and come through with big videos again too. Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, you talked about linking up with Interscope. You did the videos for Glasses Malone.
Yeah.
Slick Dog.
Slick Dog is my big homie in LA. You know, he took me. We met in 2009 at one of my video shoots. He was a friend of a friend that was in my video, and then we hooked up and became basically best friends. Then, you know, I lived with him for a good part of my 9-10 years in LA. You know, I lived with him when I wouldn't rent a condo by the beach in Huntington Beach. I would just live with him, you know, so he was a big part in introducing me to the LA culture, but in depth, knowing how to maneuver with the gangs and all of that, because you don't just go to LA like that. You'll get wrecked. Like, it's no joke. Like, everything is gang related.
Yeah, you gotta watch like what hat you wear on what block and
all
shit.
of that.
Like,
all of that.
All that shit means different shit over there. Like,
yeah, man.
That ain't a Phillies hat over there.
I like this, it means something. I can't really like wear that anywhere, you know, it means something. So like even the Montreal Expos hat means something, you know. It's the East Side Long Beach.
Oh shit.
Crips that wear that because they see it as an ELB. When the Expo logo is an EMB. Yeah. But yeah, I was in court to pay a ticket one day in South Central, and the sheriff there, you know, when you get to the court, they search you and you put all your things in a metal detector, and the sheriff was like, yeah, East Side Long Beach. And I was like, nah, that's the Montreal Expos. And the sheriff that was next to him was like, I told you that's EMB, that's a Montreal Expos. And the other sheriff was like, yeah, well, out here it's really gang related, you know. It's just like the Boston Red Sox hat, you know. That's for real. So all the hats mean something, the colors mean something. But not only that, you know, even in the corporate world is gang related, you know, so it's just, that's the culture. But at the same time, you know, it's rules like anywhere else, you know. It's just, you just got to learn how to maneuver through that. So Slick Dog was a big part of helping me, knowing that he helped me a lot with everything, you know, forever thankful. And then I started hooking up with Glasses Malone in 2012 through my manager that was, big record executive at Interscope, and yeah, we became brothers since then. Glasses and I, you know, we talk a lot, and he's a real one, you know.
Dope, very dope. It's good to have those type of connections, like you said.
When you have to, if
you
not,
maneuver around the streets.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna say something, I totally flew out of my mind. But yeah, so you worked with Glasses, you worked with Slick Dog and everything.
Dolla Sign.
Ty Dolla Sign. Who else? Who else have you been working
Tyga.
with? Tyga.
Nice.
Tyga, yeah. On the last video shoot not the last that I did, but when I did the video shoot with Tyga and Glasses Malone, man, that was a star-studded set. Like,
let's
he
hear
had
about
like
that.
Hall of Famer boxers coming through, celebrities of all kinds. At that time, Tyga was still with Kylie Jenner, so he had a whole bunch.
Superstar status,
Bro, he had a whole bunch of security that came and, checked out the whole place before he could enter the building, and it was like it was crazy. Like, it was really, really, you had NFL players and you had like people smoking blunts that aren't supposed to smoke, and that would get him kicked off their teams or whatever. It was just like, it was crazy. You had Exhibit coming through. You had a bunch of people that, I had looked up to growing up as a rapper, as a director that was there, and they were like, man, you really know what you're doing, Black. And I was like, man, that means a lot for me, coming from you. And it was just crazy. And a lot of people that was there too was like, they weren't stars yet, but then they became stars. And I was like, yo, that's the homie that was there. And that was like, yo, bro, would you shoot a video for me or something? And it was cool. Like in 2012, after I had started working with Glasses and all of them, the people at Interscope, one morning I'm at IHOP having breakfast, because I would go have breakfast by myself at IHOP every morning for like 9 years. Like, I spent like $100,000. It was, and I messed my whole stomach up and all of that, because it's the most processed food in the United States. But it was like that's my family out there. Like, hey, shout out to the people at IHOP, But yeah, one morning I'm there, and my friend is, the waitress was my friend because I saw her every morning, and I get a phone call and it's like, hey, hello. Hey, what up, man? It's Nip. I'm like, Nip, yeah, Nipsey Hussle, and it was Nip, and then he wanted to know about music videos, and you working with Glasses and all of that, and it didn't end up working out, because then he found Sergio, who directed all his other videos, and I was like, our schedules didn't work, didn't match, but yeah, it was cool, man, talking with Nip, and he was a real dude. Like, he called me. It was no manager, no nothing like that. It was like just him, like, hey, what's up, man? How can we make this work? And he was like, so forever respecting that dude. And when he got killed, I was there that day. I was probably 1 mile away from where he got killed. And now people on the street, we were ordering hot dogs and hamburgers at a spot there in LA, a famous spot. And then people started talking about it in the parking lot. They were like, yo, you heard Nipsey Hussle got killed? So I hit up Glasses, like, yeah, man. And then we hear it on the radio. It was everywhere. And then the next day I was shooting a video with MIQ, Mikey. And on set, Glasses was there. And then that's when we found out that, who had killed Nipsey. But before we found out, I was driving around with Glasses in Bel Air. And, he was getting calls by Snoop, Game, Warren G to inquire, like, because Glasses got his ear to the street, to who killed him, like, what happened, like. And then it was just like, I felt like it was super sad. Everybody was sad in LA. The DJs were crying on the radio, and it was just like, but I felt like it was part of history, and like even Glasses was super close to Nipsey the whole time, so it was like, like the homie was like super sad, and I was like, man, he's eternal now. So it was just being a part of this sad history, kind of like Pac died, and it was just different. It felt weird, Yeah. And then we shot Mikey and MIQ, and we dedicated that video to Nipsey, because we shot it when he died, with Glasses, who's a Crip too, and TC, who's a well-known Crip too. So it was like the whole Crip connection. So it meant something. But yeah, man, that was the LA tales are crazy. I got stories for days.
Must have been a surreal experience to, like, us from the outside looking in, seeing it on TMZ, on World Star Hip Hop, and you were right there. You were with his mile
friends.
Away.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and I was with his friends. like talking about it. It's like, And
what was the tension like the week after everything?
The tension. It was like in LA. I mean, it was just love everywhere for Nipsey on the radio, and it was just like everybody was bumping Nipsey. Like every car that would pass by was bumping Nipsey, and it was just crazy. But of course the gangsters did what they do, but it wasn't about publicity. People weren't about paying too much attention to this. It wasn't about publicizing the whole gang thing. It was about love for Nipsey. So that's why there was never no emphasis, you know, put on the get back, you know, kind of. So, yeah.
That's wild.
Oh, it's wild. It was wild.
There's one thing that we're going to totally go off subject here. Like, I remember watching, I think it was VH1, Bad Girls Club.
Oh shit,
bro!
And
That
I see PeeZee come in,
bro.
for-
That was a
go.
whole nother. That thing was wild.
You need some more Henny for this story?
Let's go,
I
man.
need
Give
to
me
hear-
some
I need to
more
hear
Henny,
about
man.
that. Was it Natalie Nunn that you had the date with? Who
No,
was
it was Shar Warren, the most hated.
Yeah,
She's more hated than Natalie Dunn. Shar Warren, man. Yo, you're bringing me back right now. We're gonna talk about Shar Warren.
Really?
Really?
My water's almost finished. So I'm gonna get some in there.
Cheers, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
All right, before we go to Shar though, can I feel like Natalie Nunn smells like sage and cocoa butter. Am I lying?
She wasn't on that season that I was in.
Okay, damn.
No.
All right, I'm gonna have to ask somebody else.
So the way this thing happened was really, really crazy. I was working with a famous tattoo shop on Melrose called Under the Gun. These guys were phenomenal. They helped me so much. When I shot my own video with glasses, you know, they had the city of LA closing the street in front of the shop, and they had a 6'4" coming in for me. It was like a 59 Impala, but they all participated in the video, and these guys were like, when glasses were like, it was like, okay, I see who you're rolling with. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, so before we did that, they hollered at my friend one night, and he's like, yo, you with PeeZee, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, because we had kind of like a group thing going on. And he said, yo, tonight we're throwing a party at Under the Gun at the tattoo shop. They had like a little venue right beside the tattoo shop where they would throw parties in there. There was a little bar, and they said, yo, we got the Bad Girls Club. It was on Oxygen. VH1 took it after that for the reruns, but he was like, there's a show on Oxygen that's rolling here tonight. One of the girls is getting a tattoo, but they wanted us to do a little setup to hook him up with guys so some of y'all can be on, you know, on the series. But I didn't know what it was. My friend didn't know what it was either. So we get there, and they have a whole setup with us with like cameras like here, you know, multiple cameras, directors and all of that, lights, and the girls are waiting, and then we sit down, and then they start playing my videos on a big screen to make it look like none of that was shown on the show, but that's how they set it up. So we started talking with the girls, and it was like, you know, we spent the whole night there like drinking and having fun, and for like 3-4 hours, and then we're shooting stuff. And then one of the girls was like, yo, would you guys come to the house, like, let's say, I don't know, maybe tomorrow, and throw a barbecue? Like, we'll film all of that. It's going to be great content. You know, we'll say your name on TV. Y'all can come. So we went out there. We bought all the food, and we went out there at the mansion that was like a multi-million-dollar mansion, and, you know, all hooked up with, you know, the reality TV stuff. And we spent the day there getting hammered and just eating. It was like, yo.
That's awesome.
And we was talking shit like crazy, and it was just fun. And then like the chick that I had started talking to, whose name was Shar Warren, she was really cool in life. Like, they depicted her on the thing like she was like the most hated person, but she wasn't like that. I felt bad for her. She had an attitude, but it wasn't like that. They just destroyed her. But anyway, so yeah, so she was like, yo, would you have dates with me, like, for TV and all of that? I'm like, yeah, we can go, whatever. So they started. So I was the only one out of the group that started having dates with one of the girls. Okay. So they was like, what's your schedule like? And the production team would ask me, and then we would go out, you know, they would close down restaurants in Beverly Hills for us, and we would go get in there. And they try to, you know, they really scripted kind of. So they like, yo, if we bring the cameras back, would you guys kiss or whatever? And I was like, I ain't doing none of that shit on TV, man. I ain't, because it's the Bad Girls Club. So at some point you realize that they got to fuck you over kind of because they're bad girls. So they got to get rid of you. So at some point I was telling her, I called her up on the phone, and all the conversations were being recorded. So I called her up on the phone, and I was like, so I used language that couldn't be used on purpose, that wouldn't be used on TV. So I told her, I said, man, you know, I'm an artist, I'm a video director. I can't be portrayed like a little bitch boy like that, you know? So I'm like, I gotta leave the show. And she was like, nah, man, this is more content for me, for you. It's gonna be cool. She was like a friend, basically. Yeah. But yeah, they had a bunch of activities. They had to just go do go-kart somewhere. There's a place in LA where all the superstars go. The Kardashians go there. Kanye West goes there to do that go-kart thing. And it was just like, it was crazy. It was like, but it was like the real LA experience, like a big TV show, but out of nowhere like that. So it was like
that shit fucking blew up, bro.
Oh yeah, like the episode I was on had 9 million viewers. Like 9 million viewers. That's wild, like son. That's wild. You know, and the day that episode, you know, Charwoman, you know, she was a black chick from Chicago. She was super cool. But they made it look like she did me wrong or criticized me, not too much, just a little bit on the show. And she was like, no, but she was calling me Eric. She didn't want to call me PeeZee. She was like, I'm not going to call you PeeZee. You're Eric to me because I'm special. So she kind of dissed me a little bit on the show because I wanted to get out of the show, you know, not participating into the show anymore. So that night that it aired, I had a bunch of friend requests on Facebook from chicks from Compton. It was like, yo, I'll take care of you, man. She don't know shit. Blah, blah. And I was like, this is so funny. And then we shot the show in October 2010. Then I got out the show. Then 2 weeks later, while they were still shooting, I ran into the show at a random bar in LA. I was having a meeting with a client and I run into them. No. And then I started making fun of them. And then that shit never aired, but they had released some of that footage online. The show had released some of that footage online, and I had made fun of her in the bar, and then we could see in the footage that had been released, she was like, yo, I can't believe you girls, the other girls, you spoke to Eric after what he did to me, and I told you, like, this is not cool, man, he really hurt me, blah, blah. And I was like, I hurt you? And it was just funny, but it was all
just
like
playing it up for TV.
Yeah, it was just playing it, but I didn't know that. Yeah. We saw that afterwards. It was the behind the scenes of our encounter at the bar. So it was just, but it was like that was really that real Hollywood life, fuck boy life kind of. And I was like, nah, I don't want to participate in any of this. It's just too crazy.
Dude, and that's like one of these moments that, okay, regardless if I'm a guy or anything, that's like one of those things that you would indulge in back in the day, and you would just laugh your head off. Bad Girls Club, you know, because they were just so crazy, these girls.
Oh yeah.
And then to see somebody from the city on it,
like,
dude, that's crazy. It was like a
everybody was hitting me up. It was like in the city. It was like, yo, I was watching, especially on what was the most funny is that they had those reruns on Music Plus translated.
Hilarious.
So they had a French dude from France doing my voice.
Oh, wow.
Translating my voice. So it was just super. It wasn't Music Plus that was like translating it. It was the feed that it was getting from France, VH1 France or whatever. But it was just, that thing was just like out of this world, man, to be plunged all of a sudden in LA like that on a big TV show. And they don't ask you, like, at that point, I don't even think I had like my legal papers to be there and work there, but they don't care. Like, they weren't paying me anyway.
No NDAs, no nothing?
There were NDAs.
Okay.
No, there were non-responsibility.
Okay, so
clauses.
Something happened.
So, yeah, kind of, but the rest, there was no NDAs. You could say whatever. You could talk about the show, or they wanted it. They wanted people to talk about it, so it creates kind of like controversy.
But you know what's ironic about that? There's so many like wannabe actors and actresses that'll go
that
to
would
LA.
Do anything.
That will go to LA.
Anything.
And like, she's been sucking dick in a basement on Sunset for 5 years and still hasn't gotten a role. This motherfucker just strolls onto reality TV.
Bro,
like,
the guy that I was meeting with when I met him at the bar afterwards, he was a rapper from Montreal, from France, that was out there in LA, and I was meeting up with him for videos, and he's like, yo, you know these girls? I was like, yo, I was just on the show, bro. It hasn't aired yet. And he was like, bro, I tried everything to be on there. Oh. I went to auditions to be on there, and they wouldn't take me. But there's people that will do anything to be on there. And what I found really, really funny is when people out here watch, Occupation Double with our shows, those shows, and they're like, yeah, but you would have done the same thing if you were on there. I was like, that's 1.5 million viewers a show. I was on one that was 9 million viewers a show, and I didn't do that. So I know exactly what I would do. I just got out of there, and I was like, nah, man. Even though it was the VIP treatment, you wouldn't pay for anything. It was just fun, but whatever, man. But it was fun. It was a fun time. It followed me for a long time, that thing, the LA, the Bad Girls Club stuff. It wasn't, bad or anything, but a lot of people would tell me about that.
Mm-hmm. So besides that experience at the Bad Girls Club, was there anything else in the entertainment industry, like TV shows or movies or
Not really. I mean, I was just there shooting videos. Really, I've been to a bunch of cool video shoots. I remember when my manager brought me to the first Kendrick Lamar music video shoot at Interscope. It was for a song called "The Recipe." It was it was Kendrick Lamar featuring Dr. Dre, but they never put it out because they decided that the wind had shifted and they wanted a song like Swimming Pools more. So they did multiple edits of the Recipe video, and they didn't like it. And it was fun because when I went there, I get there. They were shooting it at the Interscope Studios, at the Interscope venue at Jimmy Iovine's private club, the Tom Tom Club, where they had shot 50 Cent. It's Your Birthday was in the club.
In the club, yep.
Yeah, so they were shooting it there. I get there, man, there's like 300 models, like literally. And there's like 20 makeup artists. It was like a huge production.
I feel like there was a cocaine buffet somewhere.
I haven't seen that, but it was just like, it was crazy. And like Snoop was there, Warren G was there, all the West Coast was there. I think Nip swooped through. I'm not sure. Everybody was there, man. And Dr. Dre came in super, super late, like 15 hours late. But at some point I go out. I wasn't in the video. My manager just said, "Hey, you want to meet Dr. Dre? Yeah, come to the video tomorrow." So I go there, and at some point Kendrick, he grabs the phone and I'm outside by myself outside the studio. I'm the only person outside the studio, and then Kendrick comes out, and he's on the phone. He's like, "What do you mean you're not coming? Like, you're going to be late." "Oh, no, Dre." Blah. And I'm like, this is really a conversation between Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar. And I'm the only person witnessing this shit. So the director is like, it was Philip G. Atwell that did like all the Death Row videos. And it was funny to see all of that unfold, because it was that super huge production, but it still reminded me of music videos in Montreal sometimes. And I was like, this is hip hop, this is cool, man. So, that was a dope day because so many people were there that I had looked up to my whole life. And I was like, and one of the chicks at Interscope that helped me out with my immigration papers, she was the one she was my manager's assistant, but she was like the fixer at Interscope. So she would get visas for all the artists and hook up people. Like when Chris Brown came to town in 2005 or 2006, when he started living in LA, he was living with her and she was showing him around. So she knows everybody, Neo too. So yeah, she was like, "Yo, you want to sit in Dr. Dre's chair at his studio here at Interscope?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Come with me," And I went to Dr. Dre's studio, bro. Sat in his chair, played with the things. I was like, man, it was funny. It was like, but all of this is like coming from out here where people see this whole thing as a myth, kind of like I was messing with a bunch of people that knew Pac, personally, Pac friends, people in the industry that knew him, and to them it was like, yeah, that's Pac. That's Tupac. But out here, and I was telling them, I was like, that in Montreal, that's like a myth. It's like it's a fairy tale, the Tupac thing.
It's like folklore. Yeah.
It's folk. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's folk,
yeah.
Basically. And they were like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Bro, you don't understand. Like, it's like for anybody in the world, like this thing that your everyday life is something that doesn't really exist. It's like a fairy tale or a TV show for them to watch. It's a series."
Yeah.
And it was funny, man. It was very cool though. But yeah, man, I can't think of anything else, but there's so many. I mean, it was 9 years. So.
Okay, so you mentioned some highlight moments here. What was like the most wildest moment, whether it be Compton, LA, anywhere in the States, that was a moment that you could remember? And it was like either a video that was really...
I got two, man. I got two for you. I got one that's really crazy, and I got another one, man, that's like... I was somewhere going out with some, very reputable gangsters, like top of the food chain guys, and we get out of a bar, and we weren't drunk, nothing. We just talking and just having fun. It was just us. It was like 5 of us, and we walk on the street somewhere. I just don't want to say where, and then a guy comes out of an alley with a big ass, 44 all chromed out, and he says to the guy in front, he says, "You want to dance, homie?" And he was a Mexican dude, and man, he had a gun. He was like that big ass gun, and then I turned around to the gangsters. He was one of the little gangsters, but I turned around to the big guys. Man, these guys went into guerrilla mode. They just like popped their chests out, and they went and surrounded that dude. They said, yo, you're going to just get one of us, but we're fucking you up. And then a guy comes out of the alley. Another guy is like, fool, don't you know who that is, man? We're dead. And the guy was like, I don't care. And he had his gun like a movie.
Yeah,
and his friend was like, no, bro. And he said, yo, we're sorry. And he said the dude's name, like the gangster name. And he was like, yo, sorry, man, sorry. And that's when I seen the raw power of some reputable guys out there. Like, they were scared. They knew that if they did something, they were like totally dead. So that was one. That was like crazy. And the other one, I tell that story often, but when I shot, the video with Glasses Malone featuring Tyga, I was directing it. We had rented a studio in a venue, a boxing gym, and there was a studio right next to it in the same venue. And I was in charge of hiring, the helpers and the assistants, and so I get there and Glasses Malone introduces me to my helpers and all of that. And it's a big video, there he has like he needs 2 girls to play the 2 main parts. He's playing, he's having 2 boxer girls facing each other. One is coached by Tyga, one is coached by Glasses Malone. But he got like 10 model girls there, and he's like, choose the one you want. And the chick that was the lady that was in charge of doing the styling and everything, she was Chris Brown's stylist, and she was doing like styling for Love and Hip Hop, and it was a big production. So I choose the 2 models, and then I turn around to talk with my assistants to say, oh, we're gonna put the lights there, blah blah blah, and there's no one. So I'm like, I asked Glasses, where are they? He said, I don't know. They just vanished. I don't know what happened, but they showed up. I don't know if the money wasn't right or anything, but then, so I'm stuck there, and Tyga, we knew that Tyga was only going to come for 2 hours because he was taking a private plane right after to go to Kanye West's birthday party with Kylie Jenner right after. So we had him for 2 hours.
That's crazy.
And then I'm left to shoot the whole thing by myself, just me. It was something I had done before in Montreal on smaller shoots, but then I'm like, bro.
It's the big guys.
I'm like, it's the big guys, and it's just me. So I got to fix the lighting. It took 18 hours to shoot the whole thing. We did Tyga in like 3 hours, but it took 18 hours to shoot the whole thing because I would run around fixing lights. Like, I had Glasses DJ Head, who's now like the main DJ on 92.3 The Beat. He got LA on lock basically, but then he wasn't that. He was doing the music, and it felt like kind of like so amateur, but it wasn't at the same time. But Exhibit comes to me at some point. He's like, bro, you're a fucking machine, man. This ain't my first rodeo, and like
Jack of all trades.
I'm like, I'm like, thanks, X. I'm like, thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
And so I'm like, thanks, pimp my ride. It's cool.
I appreciate it.
So it was just funny, but that and after that, Tyga always asks for, anytime I see Glasses, like, yo, Tyga asked me about you. Like, so right after that, Tyga said, yo, I want PeeZee to shoot this video with this new artist. It's called Hookah. The new artist is, his name is I just forgot his name. What's his name?
Was with Young Thug. No?
Yeah, Young Thug. He's like, yo, that's this new artist. He sounds weird. His name is Young Thug. It's called Hookah. And would you do the concept for it and everything? So I did the concept. I wrote it, and then they went and shot it in Thailand. They ended up shooting it over there.
Same concept?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were supposed, but ever since, when we shot Mikey's video, Glass was like, yo, I just spoke to Tyga yesterday. He was like, yo, you're shooting this with PeeZee. And yeah, Tyga always asks, like, what's going on? Because in LA, what I can do, not a lot of people can do, like to get Hollywood in a box. Because in Tyga's mind, it's just me alone all the time. So he's like, yo, that was like 2015. So now imagine what he can do in 20 or 2019 back then, or 2020. So it's just funny. But yeah, man, that was wild. That was a wild one.
That's great. I was going to ask you, like, is it you that comes up with the concepts and you rent out the spaces for these artists, or they come with you as like an image?
Sometimes I come up, they just send me a song and they're like, what do you want to do? And I say, well, this is what we have access to, this is what we can do. This is what we could do with a certain type of budget. If you don't have it, this is an alternative, and it always depends. Sometimes they just like, sometimes they have their whole concept and they're like, yo, we just want you to direct it and put it in images like that looks right, because they don't know. You know, sometimes you know how it is. Artists come up to you and they're like, yo, I want to do this, and you're like, bro, it's just gonna look like shit. Yeah, like you can't see it because you're not. And they're like, yeah, that's why we trust you. So it really depends. But there's a lot of times artists come up to me and we rent everything, or we find all the locations. Most of the time it's like that, especially nowadays. I've had a bunch of super successful videos, so they're like, yo, we want to replicate that. How did you work for that? How did it work? I said, well, I chose everything, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, yo, here's a song. Tell me what to do. So, yeah.
And as far as the team, I know you work with 7 Star and
7 Star, he doesn't work with me on music videos. You know, I shoot his music videos. He came a few times to do choreographies, to mount up choreographies but he's not one of the team members and stuff in terms of, you know, he's an artist himself. He got his whole thing, so he's not an assistant director. But he used to live with me in LA at first, so of course then, you know, we were helping out on sets. You know, he would help me out and stuff like that, but he's not one of the team. The rest of the team is really like people out here that I mess with. In LA, it's other people, you know, like Slick Dog was one of my partners at Directed by PeeZee's out there, and we would hire people. But if not, you know, it's just like, it's never super big teams, you know. It's usually me and 2, 3, 4 people max. That's maximum. That's for a big thing. I feel like when there's too many people, it's just like, you lose the essence and you waste too much time. It's just like it just, so yeah. But the team here is always the same people that I work with. You know, they're not known in the business or whatever, but it's just the people that I work with.
It's also really hard to like rely on people. So to have
Super
more
hard.
on your plate is just like,
it's super
chaotic.
hard to rely on people. Every time I rely on people, I get, you know, I get
aggravated.
fucked over. I hired a dude in LA to do drone shots, man. You
butchered them.
Bro, he was flying the drone. It was a scenic shot, and he would go like, right in the middle. I was like, what are? So I said, hey, you know, I had you coming all the way to the desert here, you know, here's your pay, you know, that's cool, go. He's like, we barely shot. I said, yeah, it's just not going to work, brother.
You need smooth movements.
Yeah, and I just went back the next day with a drone that I rented, because I bought one, and I just like, I returned it after, but I just like, just for that shot, because I have my drone here, but I was like, nah, man, that just doesn't work, you know.
Speaking of drone shots and all these crazy scenic shots that you take, you had the 2 books that you put out, no?
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about those books, man.
Yeah, man, that was I would say in 2015, I started getting fed up with the music industry, like really. I was like, it's always the same thing. It's just the same, especially being in LA. I was like, it's the same fuckery over and over. It's just people wanting to be famous, and it's just like, they all act the same, all of them. And I was starting to understand how it worked too. And I was like, this is pure evil. It's like, I don't really want to be a part of this. And I'm not talking about the Glasses Malone and all of them. I mean the bigger people. And I was like, you know, the extent to where, you know, where they will go to gain power is like, they will do unspeakable things. This is not a myth. This is not like, it's really, those people are evil as fuck. So Instagram was really starting, you know, to pop more, and there was a bunch of photographers that were doing like dramatic photography, scenic photography, and a lot of them came from LA. So I started doing it, and I was having fun, man. I would leave with my friend out there in LA at 1 a.m. and we would go downtown LA, take, you know, long exposure shots of all the scenic places that you see on Instagram, and we would meet all kinds of Instagrammers, you know, and it was so fun. And then in you know, I did that for 2 years, and in 2017 I went to a big photography meetup. That's how they call them over there, from one of the big accounts. I think it was like Conquer LA with Moody Grams and all the big accounts with 1 million followers that do photography, and they're sponsored by Amazon and all of that. So I went to one of their meetups, and we were probably like maybe, I don't know, 1,200 photographers, and they had a bunch of models, people with smoke bombs, and all kinds of like artists that like to be taken in, you know, in pictures on Instagram. And so all the photographers would take pictures of them, and then they would, you know, the best photo of that day would win like a prize and be declared the winner of that meetup. And they do that like maybe twice a year. And I ended up, and they would announce it a week later because you would, work on your shots, post them with the hashtag and everything. And I ended up winning that thing. I wake up one morning and there was a bunch of photographers that I was looking up to that were there, like the biggest in LA, some guys that do like Adidas, commercials and all that thing, photography for Nike. And I was like, that's amazing. So after that, I said, man, I'll put all these pictures in a book, all my California pictures. I'm gonna put them in a book, and I'm gonna just like find a publisher and just like sell it, on Amazon. And I did. So the first book was called California Vibes, and it was I think it was like 40 pictures, all my best ones from California. And a couple months later, I released another one that was called Cafe, and that was all coffee tone pictures, so it was more like toned down. The other one, California Vibes, was really vibrant. Okay. Cafe had a lot of stuff from here with, fall sceneries, and so that was super cool. And they're still both on sale on Amazon, California Vibes by PeeZee's and Cafe by PeeZee's. So that was very cool. That was when I stepped out in the music industry to do that, my whole vibe changed. I was just like super relaxed. I was like posting quotes on Instagram. I was becoming like that hipster dude. And I was like, and then I snapped back. I snapped out of it like maybe in like 2019. I was like, nah, man, I ain't doing this no more. Back to the music industry to crush these fools. And that's what, that's kind of like what we did at that point. And yeah, I was tired. One day I woke up and I didn't want to do photography anymore, which is something that had never happened to me before. Like I always did music videos, music, all of that, but photography, I got tired of it. I still do some, but I don't have the fire anymore. So it's like, I don't see sceneries the way I seen it when I was doing the drone shots in LA. And, all the pictures I was taking, most of them were on set or while scouting for sets, because I was still doing music videos, but I wasn't pursuing it like hollering at artists or having my manager. I've never hollered at artists, but my manager would holler at people. And so, but the photography thing was really like, it was life-changing for a moment. It was cool.
Yeah, it was probably a good thing to have in your life for that moment, just to calm you down.
Yeah.
It grounded you.
You, get away from the video game for a bit.
Yeah, it really did. Especially the music industry game, which I was tired of over there because it's evil.
It's also a very fast-paced, like
super.
Always changing, always moving.
Always.
It's hard to have some time to just like step back and reassess, analyze the situation, get back into it.
Yep.
So yeah, you said that LA and that environment, it was very seedy and evil. Made you want to back out of it for a bit. Back in Montreal, you were working with some artists right now, some Bollywood artists.
Well, right now I'm still working with the same people. Like I said, I made an incursion into the gospel, the urban gospel world with all that new, like it's all Afrobeat stuff that's super popular in Africa, but it's gospel. So when you hear it, it doesn't sound like gospel, but it's like most of it is in Swahili. That's how.
Swahili.
Yeah. So that's a big market I'm doing now, but I'm still like right now we're organizing new videos for Master D, who's like he's known as the king of Bengali music, of Bangla urban. When I say Bollywood, it's like I do a lot of Indian stuff, but I do a lot of Bengali stuff also. It's like all under the Desi market that they call. So after we did a big video for Master D in 2019 in LA, and that ended up having 25 million views independently. So right after that, he signed to be the first artist to launch Spotify Bangladesh. But that song was so huge, it was playing in stadiums over there, like in cricket stadiums. So we had a cricket team coming up to us and because I work with them in, like they're my brothers. So we work, we have a relationship that I don't have with other artists, basically. So, a cricket team came up to us and they were like, yo, we need a video for a song. We need him to do a song for our team. It's going to be our anthem. It's like basically like the Montreal Canadiens come to you and they're like, yo, and we have a budget for you and all of that. So right now we were going to shoot that in March of 2020, but then the whole thing happened. So now they just came back to us like recently. So now we're organizing this plus a bunch of other stuff with him. He's getting back in the game because like, the whole pandemic, I haven't stopped a minute except for when everything was locked down, like totally. But if not, we've been working. But on his side, he had family, health issues in his family where he couldn't be in contact with anybody that would have COVID. Like they would die, and like they had kidney problems and all of that. So he didn't want to risk it. So he basically was on pause for 2 years, you know, right after his smash hit, you know. So
that really sucks.
That really sucks. So now we're getting back to it. So we'll see, you know. But that's the new thing. But I want to go back. I mean, I don't know if I want to go back to LA necessarily. I want to go see my friends, but
I think you got to go to Miami, man.
But I want to go to Miami. Yeah, that's
Start
what I want to do.
Reggaeton
videos,
videos,
definitely. And I got the hookup like for reggaeton videos. My manager, he was like super big in the Latin world. So my ex-manager, he's not my manager anymore, but I'll holler at him and I'll be like, yo, let's do this, man. Let's do reggaeton music videos. That's gonna be fun.
How does one find a manager?
Man, that's like, you don't find a manager. That's
you.
the thing, though. What happened with him is like, I had a friend, you know, I did a song in LA in 2009 when I got there. It was me, my friend that had me moving over there in 7 Star. And we did a song together, and we had like this group together. Because when I first went to LA in 2009, I was still under contract out here, so I couldn't put out an album or music under my name alone. So it had to be with a group. Till I got out of the contract with Universal out here and Diffusion GFB. So we started this group, and we was having fun. And then a guy that we knew in LA, he heard it, and he was like, yo, that's cool. He was like, yo, right now at Interscope, what they're looking for is the next Black Eyed Peas. So they're looking for a group that has, you know, a white guy, black guy, Latino guy, because that's what it is in LA. So he said, I'll have you meeting with my good childhood friend, you know. He's the guy, Gerardo Mejia. He's super big at Interscope, and he wants to pitch that to Jimmy Iovine. So we met with him, and he was like, oh, man, you guys are too old. He was like, you know, I was 30 back then, and, you know, but he was like, you guys are way too old. And my friends were like 23 or whatever. He was like, what they were looking for is like the Justin Bieber version of the Black Eyed Peas, so they could capitalize on that for like 20 years. But he said, yo, your videos, though. He said, man, I think there's a bright future for you out here, especially since you know how to light things properly, you know. And I was like, yeah, man. So he said, yeah. So he said, you got to move out here. And I was like, move out here. I'm out here, but I'm not here being able to work really. So he's like, well, we'll get you your papers, you know, come work with me, and, you know, I'll become your manager, and I'll get you stuff. And then, you know, I had Glasses Malone, Frank Nitti, the Trackmasters, all kinds of big names, and that lady that worked at Interscope, you know, sending me reference letters, and then I sent that to a lawyer firm in Toronto, and, you know, I got my work visa to be a permanent resident in LA. So that's how he became kind of like my manager, and then he was just like giving me contracts from Latino artists that would come to LA to shoot, LA artists. And I was doing my thing by myself too, you know, getting contracts by myself, just being who I was, doing what I was, you know,
networking.
Yeah, like when Nipsey called me, it wasn't him, you know. So
yeah, you get some from the management,
Yeah.
you get some on your own.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how it is. So now you're back. You're back in Montreal.
I'm
You've
forced
been
to be
working.
back.
You're forced to be back. You've
Yeah, I was
been
gonna say
working.
why, bro.
But let's get down to all these restrictions and how frustrating they are, and how it's affecting you and your income and all these, and your day-to-day life, and just interacting with human beings.
Like on a real, for my income, it hasn't affected me that much, because what happened is that artists couldn't do shows, so the only thing they could do is post videos. So a lot of artists, you know, gathered their money that they would spend on going down south multiple times a year and decided to shoot big music videos instead. So it didn't affect me. Like last year was one of my best years, like 2021, one of my best years after 2019 and 2008 and all, you know, when budgets were crazy back then, you know. But that was a very good year. But it's just in terms of freedom and liberty, that's where it's really affecting me. And it's like right now I can't travel, you know, and I wouldn't travel even if I had a QR code. I'm not using that shit. You know, I would never use that thing. So it's affecting me that way. And it all ties up to the evil people that I was working with in LA. You know, they told me about all of this in 2012, basically. You know, that was supposed to happen kind of like 2017. And it didn't, because Hillary Clinton wasn't, you know, wasn't elected. But what people need to understand is that politics is downstream from culture, and all the big people that work in music in LA, it's basically all this. It's kind of like a study on how to control masses through music and entertainment. So that's why you will see someone like Hillary Clinton hiring Karen Civil, Nipsey's manager, YG's manager. She works with Nike, to run her campaign for the youth, because they know what works for the youth, you know. And all of that is not Karen Civil necessarily, like I don't know her, but the whole machine behind all of this is purely evil. Like evil as in rituals, you know, like literally.
Blood sacrifices.
All of that.
Shit. Yeah.
All of it. This is not like, I'm already blacklisted in the game for speaking too much, or the people I worked with. So I don't care saying it, but all of this is truly, really real. You know, it's rich people are obsessed with eternal life, basically. So that's why they work on rejuvenation programs and ways to. LeBron James spends $1 million on his body each year. You know, what do you think that means? You know,
eating human fetuses.
Well, it's like blood you know, this is not
Adrenochrome. What's the thing?
The what?
Adrenochrome or something. It's the rejuvenation.
Yeah, all of that, plus getting blood transfusions from people, younger people, all of that. This is not conspiracy theory. It's like, it's a known thing. It's, you know, rich people pay for that, but they're obsessed with it. You know, they're obsessed with time traveling. They're obsessed with all of this, and like, it's crazy. So at some point, do you want to be a part of it or not? A lot of people want to be a part of it, and they're obsessed with the youth. They're totally obsessed with the youth, you know, like the whole, like, I don't know if it's, you know, really an attraction to children or whatever, but they're obsessed with the youth in some way. So that's something that's weird. It's creepy. It's weird. And it's just, So that's why I don't know. I don't want to be a part of any of this.
I'm getting Epstein vibes from that.
It's
that
oh
comment
yeah,
you just
definitely.
made.
It's all the same shit. They're all
Epstein
fucking
vibes, of course. All of that is related to power. All of it. It's raw power, and that's the one thing I learned being out there, is how raw power works and how people are reacting to it, and every single human being reacts the same way, even if they're not related. So you start noticing patterns. And when you speak, and the people in LA don't necessarily see it because they bathe into it on a daily basis. But when you come from outside and you talk with and you speak with people that come from outside too of LA, foreigners, they will tell you, what's wrong with them? You know, a lot the people in the industry, and we all recognize that it's their attraction to raw power. You know, this is why Trudeau right now won't budge with the truckers, but he'll have to. But he doesn't know it yet, because he has a relationship with raw power that tells him that's how it works. You know, they have total disregard for, you know, everybody that you see in Hollywood is the son or daughter of someone that's already in the clan. You know, this is why reality shows out here like Occupation Double and all of them have become ways for rich kids to get verified. And verification is the social credit score, basically. You know, so that's why you see these kids on Occupation Double, and they're all rich people kids, you know, sons of CEOs, daughters of CEOs, presidents of corporations, most of them, you know, so they're in that big house, but that's like their house they live in.
Did you see the interview the other day with Trudeau's half brother?
Yeah, I saw
You
it.
saw that shit?
Yeah, I saw it.
My God.
Oh, he said,
brother?
yeah. To a regular person that's not
that's what I was
familiar
looking
with
for.
this, people gonna think he's crazy, but he's just telling what it is. It's just, that's exactly what it is.
When he said, I don't know what they have on him.
Yeah.
But he's basically saying that he's stuck. He's stuck in this evil
Trudeau,
Cabal.
what
cabal
people gotta
of people, and he
understand.
got some dirt on his ass.
Well, it's not just that. Trudeau was born, he's a prince.
Exactly, that too.
So when he was born, you know, the media, like the CBC was saying the day that he was born, they were reporting like, yo, is he the next prime minister? You know, how would they say that? You know, is he the next? That's one. There's footage of that saying, oh, Pierre Elliott Trudeau got a had a son tonight, blah, blah, blah. Is he the next prime minister?
He was enrolled in the Young Leaders program, no?
Yeah, well, definitely.
So
of course.
if you're enrolled into that program,
Of course.
you're bound to
Well,
go
they
up for the
say,
running,
I was watching Tim Pool, and he was going to have Dan Crenshaw 3 days ago, but he canceled because he had a vote that he needed to attend in Congress. But he was saying he's in the Young Leaders program, and he basically said, we don't have any control on who they put on there. It's like the Forbes, richest man alive thing, like the 30 for 30 that the source used to do back then. So he said, they put me in there. It's not, I don't have anything to say about that, but like, there's a reason why they put you in there though. They put you on there. Like, so yeah, all of this is connected with the culture and the way they do their studies on, like, let's just take this for instance, if you have a whole generation that is used to fake views, fake followers, the whole fake it till you make it crowd that I was with in LA all the time. Well, I guess you fake it till you make it. I was like, what does that mean? Like, well, it's fake views. Everybody knows you got fake views, everybody, like, it's accepted now. At first it was debated, but now it's accepted. So a whole generations that's brought up on fake views won't have any problem with fake votes. They don't care about fake votes. It's like, yeah, that's what people do. Like, yeah, it's we all know everything is fake.
Yeah.
But they tried, they tried this out with the music industry first, So it's a lot to digest for the uninitiated, but like for people that know and that been in the business, like, it's everyday life. We know it. And, oh yeah, that's what it is.
No, that's great. I've never made that connection before, but now that you say it, like, you can see the parallels 100%.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And it's like once you had 10 years of fake views, fake followers, fake everything, like, the rest, we don't care. That's what it is. Yeah, voting by mail. There's no problem.
Because the whole
with that.
popular culture is fake. I mean, like, down, if you look at like most of the artists at the top of the charts, they don't write their own songs. Their whole visual appeal is completely fake. Like, everything about them is prepackaged and processed, and we all just accept it. Like, that's just pop music. You know what I mean?
I knew something was wrong in LA when I was working with an artist development program. They were trying to find, the next they were trying to do the Little Black Eyed Peas thing, and they were trying to sell it to a major label. So they had that trio of kids that were super talented, and they were shopping it to all the labels. And they wanted to have $1 million advance, and the most they could get was like 250. So it never happened. But the kids were really talented, and they were my little brothers and sisters. I was with them all the time. I was like the designated guy that they would send them with, so that they would harden a little bit, because they were all like Christians, and they were all like goody two shoes kids,
You have to take them to a strip club real quick.
No, they were too young for that. They were like 15, and so they were like, people in the program was like, yo, just roll with PeeZee, just go with PeeZee wherever PeeZee goes. And sometimes they'd be like, they would watch Vine videos. Vine was big back then, and they were like, look at him, like, have you seen such and such? Which was another friend that they had, or they knew all the little upcoming stars in LA. It's like they were hanging out with Selena Gomez and like Becky G, and they were all a part of the same clique. Jasmine Sullivan, no, not Jasmine Sullivan, Jasmine Villegas, and all of them, all the young stars, the Disney stars, Ariana Grande.
It's a circle.
Yeah, it's a circle. So it was like, oh, have you seen such and such? Like, and they'd be like, I heard them say one time, it was like, yo, yeah, of course he's good. That's all he's doing. He's always practicing. If at least he was good without practicing, what a dork. And I was like, what kind of mentality is that? And when I got back to Slick Dog House that night, I was like, bro, like, the kids, they were talking about this. Like, I don't believe you, man. I was like, yeah, they're making fun of people putting in hard work and getting better at what they do. And I said, this is going to be a problem, a major problem in the future. It was like, I don't believe you, man. It can't be. I said, bro, trust me. And I started bringing Slick Dog along with me, and he saw them, and he was like, we're in deep shit, like, as a society. And that led to COVID. That led to right here, right now. And that's that mentality. They don't want to work. They don't want to put any hard work or dedication into what they're doing, but still they want to get paid, and they want to be This is what led to virtue signaling, and it's a big problem right now.
Welcome
Huge
to
problem.
Serb.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's this generation of kids, adults, whatever you want to call them nowadays.
Yeah.
But
and also I would add, just not to cut you off, but I would add, some of them were like 22, 23, and they was like, yo, PeeZee, what you doing? And I'd be like, you know, because I was like their big brother. I was like, I don't know, I'm just kicking it with Slick Dog. And they was like, yo, I'm going to the movies with my parents tonight, blah, blah, blah. I was like, you're going to the movies with, you're 23 though. And it was like, yo, could you pick me up? And like, there was a bunch of kids that were 23, 24 in California. You got to understand, in California, you don't use public transportation. It's too big. Everybody got a car. Everybody. And these kids were 22, 23 years old, and they acted like they were like 11 and 12. And I was like, what's going on? And then I later found out that they call this, you know, I was like, they're eternal adolescence. They're teens. Like, and now, you know, I've read a study recently, and they say that adolescence now lasts till 35 years old in the United States. But I saw that in person. I saw it, and I was like, this is weird. This is weird. What's going on? Because it's going to create a crazy society that will have a need to be pampered all the time. And that's what we're seeing right now. You know, adults sitting in front of the TV and waiting for the leader to give his orders for the week.
Yeah, that's like we just said. It's this generation of kids, adults that have never done hard work or anything like that.
Never.
All they know is protesting things that have nothing to. Like,
things they can't change. Things from the past that they can't change. So that's the key. Because they can't change it, it's perfect for the people who control them, because it's a forever thing. Right. So it will last forever because you can't. Pit. Yeah, it's a bottomless pit. You can't ever change it.
And the counter protesters, if we saw the counter protesters, the majority of the people that are speaking out against what's going on, all these measures, not the measures, the people that are honking downtown Ottawa, it's like that's all they have to complain about. It's like, they're honking too loud.
Listen, I came up with a new saying right before I came to the show, and I was like, because there was someone who came on one of my posts and said, yo, I live downtown Ottawa, and that's really, really crazy, you know, the honking. I said, hey, you have no problem with 5-year-old kids wearing masks all day for 18 months. Why, when you go to sleep, you don't wear earplugs, bro?
Exactly.
I said, wear earplugs, save lives. That's the new thing. Wear earplugs, save freedom. Like, you have no problem with anything else. Like, wearing earplugs don't make you breathe, you know, differently. It don't affect your development as a kid, not seeing faces or anything. It's just earplugs, bro. When somebody snores, you wear earplugs, you know. So wear your earplugs for 2 weeks and shut the hell up.
It's like you've been inconvenienced for 2 weeks. We've been inconvenienced for 18 months, treated like lepers.
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
I mean?
I'm like, wear your earplugs and shut up. Like, but honestly, like, I was in Ottawa yesterday. There were no counter protesters. Like, there was no one on the street but people with flags. Like, no, like I'm saying, like, literally no one.
And all of these white supremacists and the extremists and shit like that, you got to understand that there's government paid actors.
Of course.
And this shit started with the Occupy Wall Street demonstrations, where it was proven that the government hired people to mask up, go break windows, cause chaos so that they can shine a spotlight on it and say, they're all extremists, right? This whole movement is extreme.
Occupy Wall Street was well documented by Tim Pool and Luke from We Are Change, Luke Rudowski from We Are Change, and they really documented well. And it was, what happened is that Occupy Wall Street was a populist movement exactly like the truckers. And it brought the left and the right together, what they call the left and the right, because that doesn't exist anymore. There's been a big realignment, the great realignment that they call it. It doesn't exist anymore. But then they said, introduce identity politics. That's what the elites did, and the left caught on to it, because the left's idea, the communist idea, is to have everything for free without working. And if you tell them that, they fall for it. They fall for it. So, yeah, it started at Occupy Wall Street. But the truckers' convoy is way bigger than Occupy Wall Street.
It's inspired so many other convoys around the world. Everybody's showing solidarity.
They can't fight it. It's a love movement. I knew it. I was seeing it online, but I seen it with my own 2 eyes yesterday. And it must be horrible to be on the other side of the spectrum looking at this, because they know they can't win.
Whoever's on the other side, like, they just have Stockholm syndrome. Like, they're in love with their abuser. Like,
exactly.
But they're gonna fight it to the fucking death.
They gonna fight. I mean,
I think
Trudeau's gonna
eventually
fight
they'll,
it,
they'll
but
get over it.
yeah, like yesterday there was supposed to be like a Canadian Antifa counter protest that was being organized on Reddit, and last minute, you know, the person that organized it was like, she started cussing at people. Why don't you want to come? Like, what's going on? Nobody wanted to be there. So, and the Ottawa police said, nah, it ain't gonna fly. This is not there, because the truckers convoy is legal. Like, they have a permit for that. But they said the Antifa wouldn't work, you know, and just people, if you're in Ottawa and you see it, you can't hate it.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no way even if you got a heart filled with hate, and even if you're a real bigot like most of the far left is, even if you see that, you're gonna be like, man, it's just people at a festival, but for freedom. It's just music. It's families. It's all smiles. It's like, I didn't catch one single bad vibe. I've been to hip hop shows where it was tense. Like, none of that there. Like, none of that. It's just not happening. And if it was, I would call it the way it is.
Feels like the only way you can get a true perspective of what's going on is by watching vlogs,
Yep.
stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
Or just going. Just
or just
fucking being
going.
there.
Yep.
Anytime you watch Global, CTV, CBC, it's like watching Bizarro World.
Oh, yeah.
And the stuff that they're complaining about, like there was a Confederate flag, but you're not showing the footage of everybody telling the guy with the Confederate flag to leave. You're not showing
Exactly.
all this.
Yeah, they're telling him
yeah.
to leave. And one of the biggest argument against the Confederate flag is, and I never miss an opportunity to say it, and I don't have no affiliation to any party, none of that, but this is the Democratic South flag. It's the Democrat flag from the South in the Civil War. It's Joe Biden's flag right now. Like, so this is the party that all of y'all support like 100%. I'm not supporting anything, but I clearly don't support that. But let's call it the way it is. You want to talk about history? You want to talk about indigenous people? You want to talk about stolen land? You want to talk about slavery? Well, let's talk about that flag. Where does it come from? Why isn't the Democrat Party not abolished? If their history is the history of the Democratic South, the KKK, then Jim Crow. All of that was the Democrats.
A lot of people don't know that.
A lot,
Democrats
even
were Republicans basically back then.
Even American journalists don't know that. They keep telling journalists. I see it I follow everybody. You know, I go and see like news from everywhere, like the left, the right, center, and I see a lot of journalists from the left telling journalists from the right, yo, if you wanna do that Civil War thing, remember you lost last time. And I'm like, and they're like, no, we didn't. it was Lincoln, bro. Lincoln was a Republican. Like, what are you talking about? So it's just funny. Like I said, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, none of that. I'm just for freedom. And right now, the super big problem that we have in North America are liberal parties, because they're not liberals. They're far left authoritarian parties, and they just want to impose everything on everybody. You know, and if you don't listen, they call you names.
You're a racist.
You're a racist, and you're a threat to democracy.
Misogynist.
You're a threat to democracy, and democracy. When they use the term democracy, they use it as in the Democratic Republic of North Korea. Okay, there's nothing democratic about that. And they want to talk about Hitler, but Hitler's party was the National Socialist Party, you know, and they call it far right all the time. But I think it's debatable. How is socialist far right? Because every other single mass murder, genocide that happened since 1900 was all far left. You know, it was the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution. It was the Mao in China, far left, Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, Cuba, Venezuela, all of it. The only thing is Hitler, who was far right, but he was socialist. And fascism was invented by Giovanni Gentile, which wanted more state in your life. The bigger the state is, the bigger the government is, the more far left it is. So I'm like, have we been told lies from the get-go? This is all stuff we got to think about.
Well, listen, they get a good guy like old Bill, and he comes in and he plays the saxophone, and he's really relatable, and he's a cool guy. And now Democrats are the you know, they're the people's best friend, you know.
Well, you know that today Bill Clinton would be called far right. Bill Clinton was like, he was right in the center. You know, Bill Clinton today would be called far right, because anything right of Marx, they call it far right. So it doesn't have any meaning anymore. Like I think of myself as I think I'm a classical liberal. I want to live and let live. I think, but I don't know anymore. They will call me far right. I'm like, what are you talking about? But that name calling doesn't work anymore. People are like, oh, far right. Yeah, I'm super far right then. Like it doesn't mean anything. You're super far left, which is almost worse historically. You got 200 million deaths on your, on your hands, so it's like, I don't know. So I don't play that thing, the right and left thing. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
You know what the upside is in 10, 15 years? We're all going to be avatars in the virtual reality with cryptocurrency, banging robots. You know what I'm saying?
I think we already know where that's leading up to. That's like, PeeZee, I want to know your perspective on that.
I'm
What
down
about
for
the metaverse.
I'm with all the
Robots are gonna
smoke,
take
baby.
over the world. We're all gonna
I'm with all the
man,
smoke.
Me, I associate it to total recall.
Digital
always.
smoke.
Oh, I take
Listen.
a gun and I point it to my head and I'm gone. I'm not living in that world at all. The meta world.
Kind of fun, bro.
Oh no,
It's kind of fun.
I can't, man.
No, it's not.
You're
That's
part
not
of the problem,
That's not the
Chuck.
metaverse yet. Trust me. When the metaverse, and you're gonna be
It's
plugged
still
in
kind of fun.
24/7 every day of your life.
The metaverse is the Matrix, basically.
You ever
Exactly.
seen titties in 3D? That shit's fire. I'm just saying.
Well, real life is 3D.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's like 4D, but still.
Yeah, you ever see them in real life? Or you can only get
No,
them in the
never,
metaverse.
Never, not once.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, the metaverse thing. It's just, it's if the metaverse was something that you chose, it's okay. But when it's imposed on you, like when they force you to be in it, I don't know, man. I'm not sure, man. I can't
I think Ready Player One's gonna be real as fuck within like the next.
Oh, for
Well,
sure.
they said it's
15,
already
20
like
years.
starting to like microchip people.
Yeah.
There's a
They're
lot
starting
of
studies on it.
Ooh.
There's the chips. There's all these little things that are leading up to the metaverse, but it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
What's
but there's a
politics.
Yeah,
pushback
it is,
right
it
now,
is all
though.
of
The
it.
pushback has started, I think, now. There was no pushback for a year and a half because people didn't want to kill grandma, or they
Exactly,
didn't
that's
want to
what it
be
was.
associated with killing grandma. But like now, like people are like, well, we're not going to kill grandma.
My grandma's still alive. man.
Yeah, let's-
exactly. And that's the good thing about the Omicron is that like so many people, myself included, got it, and I was fine, bro.
Hey.
Like I was back in the gym within 72 hours, pumping like nothing happened.
all of
bro.
my friends too. All
The
of my
fuck?
friends too. And listen, man. Let's be honest. Like, I know people that died in car crashes that got decapitated, basically. Like, I'm not advocating to stop cars. You know, if you know someone that died from COVID and it was really, really, really
This
hard.
is more. This kills more people than COVID
More,
ever will,
way
bro.
more,
Ever will.
way more.
Ever will. Talk
And,
about it.
You know, I'm not advocating against skydiving because someone died in skydiving. You know, like that risk-free life is crazy. Totally crazy.
You could die walking out your house, like just
Anytime.
That's the argument that's put forth is if we're going to lock up an entire population of healthy people for a small fraction, a small percentage, that's not even 1%.
Not even 1%.
For a cold.
For a cold, which the flu doesn't exist anymore.
The flu doesn't exist anymore, and the flu is a coronavirus.
Yeah.
It is
and what-
100%.
Yeah.
And I was saying from the beginning, I'm like, it's crazy that they can convince you that there's this crazy virus going around that you're asymptomatic. You don't even know if you have even if you don't have symptoms, you have it.
That's when you know it's a cult.
Yeah, that's
No,
crazy.
it's
Cold.
crazy to
I
me
think
is
these
that-
rapid tests are fucking fugazi too.
Yeah,
so
I
I
have
Yeah.
to
They
get
are.
tested 3 times a week at work. I need to get tested to know if I'm sick. 3
Yeah.
times a week. Like,
That makes no
what the
sense.
fuck is that?
That makes literally no
So
sense.
Stupid.
Like, to be honest, I gave it a month in the beginning, a month and a half. You know, my mom was a nurse and she participated in the H1N1 mass vaccination thing. So she still had N95 masks left. So when that thing started, I went to her and I was like, "You still got those masks?" And I was the only guy at the grocery store with a mask for a month and a half. And
a
everybody,
real mask, too.
a real mask. And I was like, "Yo, if this is airborne, like I don't know.
exactly.
I think they're fucking with us,
Exactly.
but if not, I don't want to catch it. So I'll be, I'll go do the groceries, like clean all my boxes, my cereal boxes and everything." After a month and a half, and I was the only guy with a mask because the mask didn't become mandatory before the summer. It was like in June that it became mandatory. So I was like, all the employees at the grocery store, it's all the same people since then, and none of them is dead. So I was like, what's going on? And then I went, I went to I went on a trip here in Gaspésie and all of that, and you know, you would get in a restaurant, you know, you just take off, you put your mask on, you sit and you take your mask off, and like there was no social distancing, man, over there. Like all the restaurants were full, so I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get sick, like for sure. Then I will have had it, and that would be cool, but I didn't. So I was like, what's going on, man? Like, and there were people that was catching it, and they were fine afterwards. And you know, I know a dude that caught it, and he wasn't vaccinated, and he waited for a long time before going to the hospital, to where it was recent, like 2 weeks ago, and they had to put him in a coma and everything, and he almost died. But he was like 450 pounds.
There you go.
And they didn't give him anything. The only solution they had for him, the only treatment, was to put him in a coma. Yeah. So you would have to have rehabilitation and all of that. So I was
that's
like,
what kills them. That's
there was no treatment available, none. While in Florida, they was doing the monoclonal antibodies and all that thing.
Yeah, ivermectin. They're talking out about it, and then people are losing their licenses for talking out about
and all
ivermectin.
the doctors out here was like, yeah, we've seen nothing with the monoclonal antibodies. It doesn't affect them. I'm like, bro, like, stop being an ideologue. Stop being like, just come out all together at the same time, and if they want to revoke your medical license, well, they lose all their doctors. Exactly. Just be a man, bro. Yeah. Like, I told my personal doctor, I was like, bro, he's younger than me, and he's like, I was like, bro, at some point, you know, you gotta just like be a man, bro, about it. Like, stop it, you know. But it's a foolery. But now it's falling. Like, the narrative is crumbling on a daily, and people aren't scared anymore. A year and a half ago, the truckers convoy right after the racist allegations, the Democratic, the South Democratic flag, people would have said, okay, yeah, we're going back home. Not anymore. People are like, nah, man, that don't work. You can't just call us racist like that when it's people from all over the country, all Canadians being here, and it's like, literally, it was people from all different types of cultural backgrounds yesterday.
Very clean, very well organized.
Very
feeding
well
the
organized.
Homeless. Like, it was freezing, and in that big crowd, it was so warm. Like, you weren't cold because you're in the crowd.
Yeah, last night I felt like that. It was super cold, man. And as soon as I was in the crowd, like at that kind of like rave thing that they had going on with the DJ and the speakers, I was like, man, it's hot here. It's cool.
It's not even the body heat. It's just the love radiating off everyone, you know?
Like, it's it
was crazy.
Yeah. And it felt like normal life.
You mentioned H1N1 before. I felt like H1N1 was the first attempt at this whole.
Yeah, but they couldn't. Yeah,
but the social media wasn't strong enough.
You said it all.
The media wasn't controlled by the state.
Exactly.
It wasn't fully controlled.
Well, yes, it was.
No, now it's
it was, but it wasn't.
Media is controlled by six companies right now.
Yeah,
basically.
But we seen the shift. You know, I seen the shift in the culture here when everything became standardized around like 2008, 2009, and H1N1 was 2009, if I recall. It was the first year I was going to LA, and my mom was like, don't go, don't take the airplane. Like, there's this bit, you know, this pandemic going on with H1N1, and man, nobody at the airport in LA or Montreal was wearing masks, but Asian people that was coming from out there. But they always
wasn't enough of these. Enough of people weren't glued to this as much.
Nope,
that's the problem.
exactly.
I had ringtones back then.
Exactly, and there was still like investigative journalism more, you know, because in like, when was it, 2013 that Glenn Greenwald broke the Edward Norton story. Yeah. So there was still like, and Julian Assange and all of that, there was still journalists that were going against government, but they cracked down afterwards. Yeah, you know, now
they're deplatforming everybody.
It's only activists. If you want to be hired at the New York Times, you got to be an activist. That's it. A far left activist. And again, it's not about right or left, but the portion that, like, the ideological left right now rules everything. They have all the institutions, so we got to call them out for what it is, you know. And that doesn't make us far right, you know. It doesn't even make us right of center. It just makes us like people calling out what we see. It's a power grab, and we have the right to call it out.
But that's literally the foundation of the country that we live in, and America even more specifically. Like if you look at our Constitution, it's literally based on we left fucking Europe
Exactly.
because of what they were doing over there to come start something over here that was supposed to be for the people. Representation by whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Right? It's supposed to be a democracy is what I'm trying to say. And it's like nowadays it's only a democracy if you're not going against the narrative.
Exactly. So it's not a democracy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So because the founding fathers in the United States wanted, because let's be honest, Canada can't do what it's doing right now if the United States don't follow. Because Quebec's main partner is the economical partner is the state of New York, and the Canada and the U.S. is the same thing basically. So if you got a liberty-driven regime in the United States, Francois Legault can't do what he does. Trudeau's going to get a phone call and, bro, open the border, shut the fuck up. That's how it works now. Yeah. But right now, this is not how it is. But it's crumbling in the United States. They can't keep it up for much longer. Even liberals in big urban cities are tired of it. But the founding fathers saw what happened in France with the French Revolution, and it was like, it can't never happen here. Those guys were young guys, too, like 30 years old, man, when they did the Constitution. And they were geniuses, really, and they built something that was driven, that was liberty-based. And, we got to be thankful for that, because if the United States fall today, it's over. The whole world is China, and
100%.
And it's not racist to say that. They will tell you, well, it's racist. The bot armies from China will go on your post and say, oh, you're racist, blah, blah. No. It's not racist. What's happening in China is crazy. It's total recall type shit. And that's what they want for the whole world. And because of the United States Constitution, that can't be just overwritten like that. We still got rights. If not, if Trudeau could, he would send helicopters. If nobody was watching, there was no cameras, no independent media, Trudeau would send helicopters over the convoy and just kill everybody, like the Tiananmen Square thing in China. Like, he wouldn't hesitate a split second.
Not even the military doesn't want to help him.
So let me ask you a question before, because I thought of it and I want to get to it. What do you think Trump really was? Do you think do you think he was really a disruption to the establishment, or do you think that he was a plant the whole time?
No, he's a disruption. No, they hate him way too much. Yeah. And from my connects in LA, like, that working culture and everything, he was really a problem. He was truly a problem for them. And yeah, it was truly a problem. Because
like, we've never seen character assassination
never
to that precedent before. Like,
listen, had Alex Baldwin every week on SNL.
Anybody that is sane in their mind will be like, now you're making me defend Trump. Mm-hmm. Like, you're making me, even if I don't like him personally. Like, I'm not saying I don't like him personally, but even if you didn't like him personally, if you're a sane person, you're going to be like you're going to make me defend a dude. Mm-hmm. Like, you just got to watch his whole statement and then see what CNN is showing. And it's like, at some point, you're like, wait a minute, maybe he got a point, though. I'm like, what are they, like, they're really lying. Why would they lie to us like that? And, in retrospect, the whole thing, the Russia hoax was a hoax.
And look at now, they're saying there might be Russian actors involved with Ottawa.
Yeah, exactly. So convoy. We're like, bro, we've seen that before. We've been paying attention. They're saying that. Yeah, they said it was Russian disinformation. Bro. And they said the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, and poor Rudolph Giuliani, he's losing his mind. He used to be and now they're like, it was Hunter Biden. It was true. And if people saw what's on the Hunter Biden laptop, it's crazy stuff. Like jail forever stuff.
I'm about to go watch some of this shit when I get home.
Bro, I don't know if it's still available online, but we're talking about, they can't show it on TV for sure. Like, it involves children, So it's some crazy stuff. And yeah, man. But yeah, Trump was a disruptor for sure. And I gotta say, my mom, since the early 90s, she was saying, yo, this dude Donald Trump, he's gonna be U.S. president one day. My mom I never watched French TV, and even though I grew up out here, my mom was just watching American TV, and she was like, he's gonna be president one day. He got very good ideas, and I was like, oh, whatever, he's like this billionaire on TV. he was a billionaire then, but he owned half of Manhattan. He was just a real estate guy. He was a pop culture. Like every rapper wanted to be Trump.
Sure,
they all had him in his you know, they were
the lyrics and
the lyrics and everything. So in 2004, you know, I went to New York and brought my mom with me, and she was like, it was her first time in New York. And we was at the hotel one morning, and she's like, yo, can we walk from here to Central Park? And I said, yeah, we can walk here from Central Park. So we started walking, and then we went in front of Trump Tower. And she was like, yo, is that Trump Tower? Like, yeah. So the valet was there. He was an older gentleman, black dude. And he was like, hi, man. He started talking with my mom. I was like, yo, you know Donald Trump? And that's 2004, remind you. So he was like, yeah, I know him. Most generous guy I ever met, man. He treats us like, he gives us gifts. Like, he's just like crazy. And he was like a real black New York dude. Like, he was like, yeah, man, that's my friend for life, blah, blah. He was saying all kinds of good things. So my mom had me taking a picture. She was like, yo, come in the picture, the valet. You know, and he was like, I've been working with him for 20 years or something. I think it was 20 years, maybe more. But then they took the picture, and that was it. So afterwards, when they started talking about Donald Trump's a racist, I was like, this is kind of weird, because like in 2004, like his main valet was like, he was genuinely happy. I saw the dude, and I was like, and then I started really, because I don't just watch TV and they tell me what to think. I just see it and I'm like, oh, okay, this, that. But that was and a lot of people in Hollywood feel the same way, and they don't want to say it.
Exactly.
They really don't want to say it.
You can't, because they'll get canceled.
They don't. A lot of gangsters do. Like I remember when Donald Trump was saying, he was like, yo, the virus is from China. And then it was like, where this is racist, it was like China. And I was like, I was telling my gangster friends, I was like, that he's repping the set right now. He's saying that's Crip, bro.
And lo and behold, he was right.
Yeah, he was like, that's on Crip, bro. Like, he was repping the set. He was like, yeah, blood. And people was like, yeah, you kind of right about that. He really broad day with it. And it was just funny, but you know, the character assassination was just out of this world.
It really was.
It was just, if you're for justice and liberty, you're like, bro, like, come on. And then you see what they did to Biden. Like, they never questioned him at all. Like,
and meanwhile he's falling asleep at press
falling
conferences.
asleep, making everybody look bad, and they don't mention it. And you're like,
Joe Byron.
so at that point, you got to be like, the media is lying for sure.
Yeah,
if you didn't know before,
100%.
now you got to be like, they're lying, so they're lying about the convoy too. And then when you go there and you see it, you're like, yo, these people are evil, like literally evil. They hate love because they feel like it's going to give them eternal life if they side with evil and all of that. We can get into depth with it, but I mean, people
they're
know.
aliens, they're reptilians.
That's for another podcast.
Hey, there's people you meet in this game, and you're like, that person is not human.
Yeah.
The way they interact with you, their eyes, the way they like,
the tongue's coming.
Almost. It's really, and it's not like, and it's funny, we joke about it, but in Hollywood, there's people that truly believe that. Like, they swear by it.
That's why we got to bring you on again, PeeZee,
Yeah,
so we can talk
whatever.
about that.
So we can talk just about Scientology for 3 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go further down the rabbit
This was
hole.
an amazing sit down.
Yes, it was.
I think it was our longest one that we've
Yes,
had
it
was.
so far.
Yeah,
Let's go anytime, man.
And we're gonna have so many quotables here, like Pac likes to say.
This
We gotta leave you with one thing though. You gotta pick up this gem.
what?
You
This
gotta pick
jam,
You
yeah?
gotta pick up this gem and drop a gem on the people out there. Whether it be industry secrets, how to become a better director, give them a little tidbit of knowledge that they can take with them.
So you want me to grab it?
Yeah, you have to
gotta
hold it
in
in
your
your
hands,
hands.
man.
It's part of the vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Callie is usually supposed to hand it to you.
Yeah.
but
Okay, I gotta
Hold.
hold it like this. This is the jam right there. I would say, man, what I've seen the most in my life is people making excuses all the time, especially upcoming directors and artists. Oh, I would do it, but I would speak up, but I have a family. You're gonna lose everything. You're never gonna do anything if you don't move, bro. The most important thing is, even when you're broke, you gotta keep moving. Movement creates more movement. That's the main thing you got to do, man. I think that's my jam for today, man.
Awesome. And in the name of the Freedom Convoy, keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking, Truckistan.
Truck you, Trudeau.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching another episode of the Hustle Podcast. We out.
Welcome, everybody. Y'all ready for this? The Hustle. My name is Steve Aramopoulos, and these are my co-hosts.
And I'm Tech Luciano. You may have heard me on radio, you may have never heard of me at all, but that's okay.
Cause y'all gon' learn today. Your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle. This is a show for you. Welcome to Terrence Howard, hustle with flow. Rain, sleep, or snow, the odds against me for sure. I kick down them doors when they close. A sharp shooter, a motor.